So this movie really came together during the COVID pandemic in what felt like a pretty hopeless time. And one of the things I really loved about M.T. Anderson's book was in this very still sort of cynical, truthful, dark way, it still offers a hopeful message about what art can do, about the purpose of sort of expressing yourself artistically and the importance of staying true to who you are. And I thought there was something very oddly hopeful and very sort of beautiful within this very dark, cynical world about the notion that what makes us human fundamentally is something worth defending and worth holding on to in the face of adversity. I hope audiences come away from the movie having enjoyed it, having laughed, maybe having cried, having been provoked, and I just hope that it starts conversations. I hope that I hope that it gives people a new way of talking about some of the strange aspects of our contemporary world. And I hope that it gives people some amount of hope in the ability of our human race to overcome and to hold on to what is central to us. And I worked really closely on the design of the alien with Eric DeBoer, who's a brilliant visual effects supervisor. I had seen his work on the movie Okja. He'd kind of conceived and built the amazing visual effects Super Pig in that wonderful Bong Joon-ho movie. And I knew that I needed a collaborator in bringing the Vuvv to life who could really allow us to sort of suspend our disbelief and create a certain level of photorealism, but also create something that felt really unique, really strange, and that almost had a slight deadpan humor even baked into its design. And so we settled on this idea of a Vuvv whose kind of core property is they can talk with their hands or they can walk around, but not both at the same time. So very early on in the process of developing this movie, I brought on Gene Park, who'd been one of my really long-time collaborators. He's an amazing, brilliant, sort of outside-the-box sound designer. And he and I worked closely on developing a language for the Vuvv first. And Eric DeBoer, our visual effects supervisor, told us this was a very unusual, but for this project, very appropriate order in which to do things. He said that usually you create the creature, you make this detailed VFX model, and then the last thing that happens is you come in and animate the roars or whatever sounds it makes. And in this case, they really did need to have a language. These creatures essentially needed dialogue, not just grunts and alien sounds. And it needed to sound really irritating, but in a way that kind of, it was painful to sit and listen to these things, but also kind of fun in a perverse way. And they needed to sound intelligent, but sound nothing at all like any animal on Earth. And so Gene and I worked with a very talented Foley team that did a lot of experiments with sandpaper and coconuts on rocks, and we just devised all these bizarre, very kind of analog sounds that Gene then processed and chopped up and edited in all kinds of ways to create something that felt very real and kind of low-tech in an appealing way, but also really alien and really bizarre. So I worked closely with Lyle Vincent, my longtime collaborator and the cinematographer of the film, to develop a unique look for the movie. The movie is all about kind of humans trying to remain human, trying to hold on to something that is nostalgic, something that is pure in the face of a world that is changing very quickly around them. So we really wanted to move away from some of the kind of visual tropes of science fiction. We did not want this very clean, sort of blank, white, pristine, metallic look that a lot of science fiction movies have. We wanted overall this kind of homey feel to the movie. So in everything from our color grading with our brilliant colorist Tom Poole, to the set design with Sue Chan, to the way that the camera moved, we really wanted a a look that could certainly be beautiful, but a look that had a certain humility to it or a certain groundedness to it. That felt very true to the story and to the kind of themes of the story. So I really wanted to work with Sue Chan, our production designer, because she has a really interesting and unique resume. So she had just come off of Shang-Chi, which was obviously kind of epic filmmaking of the largest, highest caliber kind. And she'd also done a movie that I really admired called Shirley by Josephine Decker, which was a much more intimate, kind of wonderfully strange, particular haunting movie. So I knew that she could work in these very different registers very comfortably. So Sue Chan and I did a lot of world building together because the job of a production designer involves a lot of asking questions and interrogating the rules of the world in order to make decisions about everything from wrappers on trash that you see lying on the street to the degree of breakdown in a dilapidated house. All these things are decisions that the production designer and director have to think very carefully about. And Sue just did a wonderful job and brought so many kind of unexpected ideas and flourishes to the world and really helped me narrow in on certain kind of world building decisions.